The Hamish and Andy Show podcast. Powered by Amy. Lucky you're with Amy.
Wow, is that a new briefcase you've got there, Ham?
No, it's my old briefcase, so I've just bedazzled it.
Okay, well...
Business art is probably the thing I'm most passionate about in the world, apart from bird hiding.
Yeah.
It's instead of bird watching, you hide from birds. So you spend all day just pretty confident. No birds have seen you. That's why I like to do the meeting in here.
I
swept
we're in a
for birds. Now we're bird hiders.
There's not a single bird. Well, it is. We've obviously got our suits, ties on. Hamish has got a bedazzled briefcase because it's another board meeting.
Jack, you taking the minutes?
Yeah.
Can I just start things off with, it's almost like board meeting logistics.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, it's great to be back in the boardroom.
It is.
I know we took one show off for Easter. We all feel rejuvenated. We all feel better.
We went to a retreat. It was a company retreat between the three of us, and we did... all sorts of exercises.
Threw a lot of footballs to each other. It's called the trust ball. It doesn't work if you throw it at the back of someone's head. But I'll tell you what, it gets big laughs. How's this, Jack? The board recognises Nicole D'Amico.
Nicole D.
19 years old, Australian podcaster. Dear Cackling Jack. Then she's written, yes, Jack. So
Wow.
She knows how weird it is to write to you. She said, during the board meetings, I usually listen to them while I'm getting ready for uni or whatever I'm doing that day. As you're the official keeper of time, any chance you could call out every 5 or 10 minutes? Get a bit distracted listening to the show. I don't look at the time. That's resulted in me being a bit late.
Well, let's do that. Let's action that.
1 minute 38.
Well, no,
Every 5 or 10 was the request.
He's practicing.
Okay.
Well, if it was a practice for the 5-minute mark, you failed. Because I don't want you to yell out 1 minute 38 at the 5-minute mark. But sure, Nicole, we can do
Time
that.
calls.
Time calls. Pop it in the minutes.
Well, the board recognises Lee as well.
Hey, Lee.
35-year-old Ham.
No surname?
No surname. He says it's 2:30am, and I've just got home from work, and I had
Sounds
a few...
like a great lyric, doesn't it, to a song?
Yeah.
It's opening line of a song. 2:30 a.m. Just got home from work. Put the computer on because I think I might go berserk. I don't know what you thought I was going to rhyme with it there.
Then he said, I switched on iTunes, remembered. It was a Friday, so that a Hamish and Andy download. As iTunes was loaded, I heard myself chanting, Jack, 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 Jack,
yeah.
Jack, Jack, Jack. Had he uploaded the podcast, had he done his service and his duty, got to say, he didn't disappoint.
How do you feel about that, Jack? That
Really good.
In the early hours of the morning, there was a guy in front of his computer just yelling out, Jack, Jack, Jack.
It's good because there's a lot of hate mail when one of the podcasts is down, but there's never a lot of fanfare when one of the podcasts goes up all right. So
Well, Lee's gone on to say, well done, son. Maybe we should have a Jack appreciation segment. Now, this is where I think Lee's gone across the
I've never
line.
seen Jack write something down the minute so quickly. Capital letters, Jack appreciation.
Well, Lee, he's just done his job. I mean, every time someone takes the fries out of the fry station and gets a medium one, puts it in a bag, we don't need to all sit there going, Vanessa, 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 and then take time out to appreciate her.
Yeah, we can't give you a presidential parade, Jack. We shouldn't even give the president one because, again, he's just doing his job.
Exactly.
Don't give him a parade. In fact, he's taking time out of his job to have a parade.
So you've been appreciated, Jack.
So no appreciation.
That was it.
Just yeah.
All right, shred that.
Shred that one.
We did the appreciation. The board re-recognises, because it's a valued listener of the show that's returning to the board meeting. The board re-recognises Young Jang.
Young Jang.
Now, we might remember Young Jang from the person that first tipped us off to the existence of hot chip vending machines.
Yep.
I'd say about 13 to 15% of all our correspondence since then has been about these machines, with people telling us they are true. Some like them, some don't. Salt's an issue. Sometimes there's honesty salt in them. You can't trust it because often it's at festivals. Who's nicked the salt?
All these things.
Crazy amount of correspondence we get about hot chip vending machines. So almost to the point where, if we didn't enjoy just receiving any emails of any type whatsoever, to the point where we'd almost say, that'll do. But, it's so nice that people write in, we'd never say that. Young Jang has rewritten and he said, you might remember he's the guy who sent in the information about the hot chips machine.
We do.
Well, because you read out my email in the board meeting, it's actually gotten me a small bit of notice from people around me. My girlfriend's friends actually want to meet me for the first time. I guess I owe you some of this. This made me curious about other people who've called in or emailed the show. Are there any good stories from people who've ever received recognition from being on the show? Yeah. Then he just signs off, Young. P.S. The hot chip machine at my work is not oven-based, as we suggested.
Wow.
So it is a deep fryer based. This is the best bit of the email, though, because if you've ever emailed in the show, you'd know that we include a segment where you can pop a picture on.
Yeah,
and
of course.
It was the picture that Young attached of the Hot Chips vending machine that first piqued our interest so much, and we were yelling out, is that a curtain on the side? Is there a midget in there just handing out chips bought off premises? We didn't know. So he's obviously gone, look, the picture worked, got their attention. He's attached a picture of a dog with a cat in it. The cat's head in its mouth. No reference to it in the body of the email. Clearly hoping that, again, the dog just gently putting a cat's head in its mouth would spark a new form of celebrity. As now he's the hot chip and the funny dog cat guy.
I'm not sure whether I'll remember him as dog cat guy.
I think you're still the hot chips guy,
he
young
is.
Jack.
Yeah.
But I appreciate your attempt to reinvent yourself.
Always evolving. We can shred that one.
Shred that.
Hey, a couple of weeks ago in the show,
5 minutes 50.
well
Close.
done. A couple of weeks ago in the show, I think you and I called for a general shake-up of the keyboard.
Yeah, we did.
We thought
called to question QWERTY.
QWERTY was fine, but we felt that with new words evolving, maybe there's a more functional keyboard. Got a couple of emails here. There's apparently an AZERTY keyboard, so someone's already shaken it up.
Someone's shook up the keyboard.
Yeah, AZERTY, starting from the top left, and
so it's not much of a shake-up, is it? Because they kept the ERTY.
Yeah, they've gone with A.
They're such good mates. We'd obviously never separate those guys.
They said it is designed to be more practical than the QWERTY, and you can type a hell of a lot faster on the AZERTY, right? Then I got this email. Guys, the QWERTY keyboard idea, it's already been shaken up. The keyboard design called as the Dvorak.
Okay.
It's far superior than the QWERTY, and it's only used by really big nerds. Now, the Dvorak...
What you should be able to do is reconfigure your keyboard the way you want it. I would just make all the letters of my email password next to each other, so I can just
Why don't
roll
you just make your password QWERTY something?
I just roll my hand across it. Yeah, that's true. I was QWERTY for a while. I think they don't let you do it now on some. QWERTY and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Like they just go,
Not good enough. Come on, try harder.
That's weak. Yep.
But it has been shook up.
Any explanation as to what the Dvoraks is?
Well, I assume that it goes Dvorak from top left across. I'd imagine.
But I love that, they don't really tell us, like, we're not ready to know. But it's all it is letter combinations. So they used to be really big nerds, and I can't go there, you wouldn't get it.
Like, is anyone putting the space bar anywhere else?
Yeah.
Like, is the space bar, top left, as big as the escape button?
Do you know what would actually save a fair bit of time? Space bar pedal. So you just be flying along the keyboard and just tap with your foot.
Yeah, like
when
a
you want
piano.
the space bar. Yeah.
Yeah, that's smart. Well, there you go. Take that one for free.
Dvoraks, if you dare, perhaps Dvoraks Mark II could have the
With
space bar.
space pedal.
Bit of personal business here for you, Ando.
Oh, God.
The board recognises Sarah Stahl.
Mm-hmm.
Does that name ring a bell?
No.
Does this name ring a bell, Ando? Diana Sino.
No.
It's been 10 years. Hi, Hamish. Can you help me out here? It's been 10 years. One of my good friends is still waiting to collect an outstanding debt. It all started back at 2000, in 2000 at university, in the illustrious subject of management. Now, as the story goes, one of your good mates, Andy, was in the business of wheeling and dealing tutorial homework and assignments. Does this surprise you? No, Sarah. Anyhow, enter Diana Sino, sweet Italian girl who, as fate would have it, teamed up with Andy to do all their management assignments. Well, teamed up is probably the wrong choice of words, because as I hear it, Dee was the one doing the work. So far, so good. Well, that wasn't until your mate Andy said he would buy her lunch for getting him through the last assignment. Problem was, he never quite got around to it.
And I did pass management.
Sarah, this is an all too familiar story.
Yeah.
If the world got all the lunches that Andy promised, there'd be no poverty.
Oh, come on.
He promised Africa a lunch, and he never bought it.
I have not promised Africa a
You
lunch.
did. You sung it to the tune of Africa by Toto. Dun, 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 dun. What sub do you guys want? He said, now, this would be no big deal, except every now and again, when Dee has the odd drink, just so you know, she pulls out the story about how she knows Andy and his outstanding lunch. So she's touting your name around town going, he owes me this lunch.
Dee, you've been used.
Yep.
You've been used. You got me through management, but you're not getting a lunch.
Oh. I'll be honest with
It's
you.
a classic
I
use and abuse.
thought I was almost 100% that this would end up in a I'll fix you up for that lunch. I hadn't actually even contemplated the fact you might blatantly just say I used and abused you.
Should I, if I lost a bit of my charm, Ham, in taking that approach?
I don't think so. I think people find honesty a very attractive quality.
Okay, shred it.
No, there's more to the email that's been shredded. Unfortunately, or at least that sort of. So the debt is stricken from the record, which is a very convenient position for you to be in. I'd love you to just call up the bank and go, you know how I got that mortgage off you? I used you. I was lying about saying I'd pay you back every week for the next 30 years. You gave me the money, and now I'm not going to pay it back. I used and abused you. It's a genuine business manoeuvre. I did it during management, the subject.
10 minutes 40. Yeah, 10 minutes 40.
Well done, Jack. Okay, the board recognises Jazz A.
Jazz A.
Jazz A. She writes, nice haircut, Ham.
Well, that's rare in the emails because I get a lot of, hey, fatty, lose some weight and put more hair on.
Goes, but nobody likes a copycat.
Oh,
and then they've attached a photo of Peter Hellier.
I smelt a rat when it sounded like a compliment.
So is it true that you copied your haircut off Peter Hellier?
I hope not. I mean, no, it's Pete. He's a good friend of ours, and he won't mind us saying it's one of the least enviable haircuts in Australia.
Ham, here's another quick one with regards to you. Hey, Ham. One of the office girls bought a cop... Oh, sorry, I should recognise Mick Smale.
Yeah. Hey, one of the office girls bought a potato and dropped a little bit of spaghetti on its head. That's you.
Mick Smale.
Yeah.
Hey, Ham, one of the office girls bought a copy of this week's TV Week. I think you might have offended the hierarchy there. Because you and Ashley Keddy, it didn't happen.
Yeah, we got edited. I saw them at the Logies, and for people that don't know this story, I did this photo shoot by myself, and they said, we're going to team you up with Ashley Keddy and make it look like you're walking along a pier the morning after.
For our international listeners, Logie Awards TV's Night of Nights.
The Logie Awards basically the Oscars, and TV Week is basically New Yorker magazine, very highbrow.
Yeah.
Like The Economist meets New Yorker.
And they were going to do a photo shoot superimposing you alongside a married woman called Ashley Keddy.
And I said, don't you think that would make it look like we slept with each other the night before? And they said, no, it's more of just a fun morning after. I think the problem is, as well, for international viewers, they quite clearly had us on Sydney Harbour. That was the theme of the shoot. Everyone knows the Logies are in Melbourne, two different cities. It would be like going a morning after the Oscars. Suddenly you're in New York or something, rather than at the other side of the country.
Shoes off, you've walked the whole way.
You've walked the whole
They'll
way.
superimpose you with bloody feet.
That's how much fun the night was.
Yes. Hey, Mick goes on to say, hey, mate, they printed you as a Nigel No Friends. Because Ashley Keddy did get superimposed.
I knew they would. They've shaken the hornet's nest there, Ando.
Ashley Keddy got added to another two girls.
They've probably
himself.
superimposed a urine stain on my pants, and there's probably a policeman in the background running after me. We've just put a little bit of dried vomit on your chin, and we've made it look like the cops are after you.
But I'm glad that's been put to bed.
That's really funny they've done that too, because during the photo shoot, the whole thing was like, look to the side, pretend you're talking to Asher. So I haven't seen the picture yet, but it's going to look like I'm a madman, because they're like just walking along, talking to myself, going, what a great night. How did I walk 1,000 kilometres overnight? Ando. This is addressed to both of us. The board recognises Brian Lord.
Brian Lord.
Which is great, and I hope one day he does get a lordship.
Yeah.
Lord Brian Lord would be a terrific name to see pop up on the email. Listen to you guys whenever I can get you on the radio, but better still, subscribe to the podcast. So thank you for that, Lordy. Here's a story. He's actually said, here's a story for your Friday boardroom sessions. Now, we're not doing it on a Friday, but
never have.
But maybe that's when he listens to it.
Yeah.
Played a wedding a few years ago. He's a muser, singer-guitarist with all capital letters, the Party Band. That's their name, I think. We're in Echuca, which is in country Victoria, and I was looking to see what table we were sitting at when I had to look twice at the guest list. On the table next to us was Bob Cockhead, Margaret Cockhead, and the whole Cockhead family. Now, that is their names, right?
Okay.
He says, I kid you not, I had to look twice. So the Cockheads do actually live in around Moama, across the border from Echuca. Be warned. Yeah. Was a good night, though. So they're great people. They're lovely people with an unfortunate surname. Yeah. The reason I bring it up, Andy, is because we're about to move on to the random John part of the show, part of the board meeting. What if we get a John Cockhead? How many points?
How many points? Do you think we should be more or less? Like
A few more.
A few more, okay.
It's an amazing name.
Huge. But I'm not sure if we should be adding comedy names for extra points.
No, I reckon we'd be the only sport in the world that has the cockhead rule.
Oh, we've got a John Nunnuts.
Oh, John Big Tits, that's 2 points. All right, fair enough. But I thought since he'd addressed it specifically to the boardroom meeting, we had to...
I had to bring that up. That's
we
good.
had to recognise that.
Hey, before we go to Random John, I've got a couple more.
Yep.
The board recognises Kayla Heffernan.
Hi, Kayla.
This is more personal use for your family. This message is directed to Hamish's father.
Here we go.
There's a hat hanging off the Carlton Garden sign in the corner of Victoria and Rathdown Streets.
Go, Dad, go, go, go.
If he wants to grab it, he can. I have a photo of the site, but I have a photo of the hat, but it won't let me upload at the moment. So have another crack at that, Kayla.
For those familiar with my father, he does like to collect hats, and on a recent trip to Europe, a lifelong ambition of his was go to Europe, travel round. He likes to think of himself as a learned man. Did not make it to see Michelangelo's David when he was in Italy. Something he was very keen on doing. The queue was too long. Yet the biggest regret of his whole trip was leaving a hat on a post. A Harley Davidson hat on a post in Spain that he still to this day regrets, and he really wanted to go and get the hat.
We got a Spanish podcaster to travel out to that area.
And verify it's still there.
So yeah, there's a hat. I do like the fact that your dad's want for hats is such that people now recognise when they see a stray one.
Where is it again?
It's hanging off the Carlton Garden sign, the corner of Victoria and Rathdown Street. So that's in Melbourne.
I wonder if we could call Dad and tell him.
It was hanging there on the 15th of April. So, I mean, I should have got to this earlier. I really apologise.
Let's call
Dad.
Do you want to call Dad
quickly?
Let me just get my phone out. I have to put it on speakerphone because we're obviously not in the studio.
Now,
I had dinner with Dad last night, so he's going to probably try and break into some small talk over that, so we'll have to just bust him out of that.
We'll bust through that, and we'll see how we go. It says dialing Noel Blake.
Good morning, sunshine.
Hey, Dad, how's it going?
Sorry, it's the afternoon.
Dad, Andy's got an email that he thought you might be interested in.
Andy has.
Yeah, I'm just here, Noel. It just says from a Kayla Heffernan. She writes, this message is directed to Hamish's father. There's a hat hanging off the Carlton Garden sign on the corner of Victoria and Rathdown Streets if you want to go grab it.
You're a very kind boy. Look, I'm okay at the moment for hats. I had a real win on Sunday. I was walking down along the St Kilda Marina and I saw a hat lying on the ground and it turned out to be an Aptus seafood hat.
Oh, well, as hat fans would know, that's one of the biggies.
That's sensational. Well, okay, great. Well, it's one per...
Just as long as you got a hat this week, yeah.
Yeah, I've got a hat. I just go one a week is plenty for me. I get a bit overwhelmed otherwise.
Okay.
Well, I'll give you a buzz later on.
Andy, it's only a small apartment we live in. You know, by the time we get Hamish in with all his, when he comes with all his arms loaded full of, Grange and extremely rare and wonderful whiskies, there's not much room in the house anymore after that.
That's true.
You have a generous son.
Thanks, Mel. Bye.
Yeah.
They go for a bit of comedy at the end there. That's still... How's that?
I love the fact that he's already found one this
You know
week.
what? He knew something was up, so he knew we'd be recording him or something. So he's done a bit of, no, I'm fine for hats.
Yeah.
But then couldn't resist going, because I've got one this week.
Oh, he's going. He's going down there. Put a surveillance. Someone get on surveillance on Carlton
Did you
Garden.
notice it was a little bit of a, I know I'm fine for hats, yet you could hear footsteps quite clearly in the background and the engine starting on his car and the GPS going, Carlton Garden's locked in.
All right. Random
just
John?
a quick one, very quick one here, John.
Coming up to 20 minutes here.
Here, Jacko. Yes, sorry, mate. He said, hey, guys, love the show. Just wondering who's the guy... the board recognises... Well, it's a fake name, but... Johnny Johnson.
Okay.
Oh, we got it. 50 points.
Yeah, but
The board tentatively
but the email
recognises.
address is Killian Hurley, so I suspect that's your real name. Just wondering who's the guy that does the intro for the podcast. His voice sounds like a mixture of an Australian Vin Diesel and a Bengal tiger. So I haven't heard the intro of our podcast.
That guy's name is Rod, I think, who does the voice.
Oh, that's Rod? Yeah. All right, well, he's growling a bit. Well, something in there is giving him off the impression he's a Bengal tiger.
But is that a negative, or do you think that's...
I think it's a positive. I
It's
can't
positive.
imagine anything
Negative about
better
it.
that
Yeah.
you would want to sound like.
True. That's nice to know that we'll give Rod feedback. Jack, that's in the minutes. Hey, while we talk about email names, just
Yeah.
quickly,
We've had a
if I
few,
may.
haven't we? I mean, we talked last week about our love for the fake names that are often used.
The board recognises Jackson Lynn.
Yep.
So that's his real name. He's just graduated from university, a computer science degree.
Yeah.
And he'd love our opinion on whether he should you keep using his above email address when applying for jobs.
What's his email address?
His email is jackogoeswackoforsmackos@hotmail.com.
Can't believe it wasn't taken. So he got that one.
He said, part of me wanted to stick true to the email address he created so many years ago, but he's worried that he mightn't get a job using Jacko Goes Wacko for Smackos. It is a 4, the use of a letter, a number 4.
What are the chances that he applies for a job at the factory that makes schmackos? They'll think he's kidding, won't they?
Yeah, they will.
What if imagine he applies for a job at like a cat food factory and they just immediately go, well, you're not for us,
you're not
mate.
for
You're
us.
obviously
You're
more of a dog
dog-based."
fan.
So you're suggesting he should get rid of it, Ham?
Just
or?
wait until you see what kind of job you want to get.
Yeah, good call.
And if you are perchance working at the Schmackos factory, definitely
great.
keep it.
Yeah.
Outside of that,
Potentially not.
potentially not. I mean, how old is he?
He's 23.
Yeah, this is I think for 23-odds is a huge thing. You've had email for 10 years, and when you're 13, it's very funny to align yourself with a claymation dog.
Yeah.
Not as funny at 23. Still a bit funny, but not as funny at 23.
He's also attached a photo of himself drinking out of one glass
Yeah.
a straw with another girl.
He's not going wacko for anything there. He's quite demurely sharing a drink with a girl. So people are going to be expecting... I expect, if that were the dog from the ad,
Yeah.
to come in, bouncing around the room, going crazy.
Yeah.
He just looks like a nice sort of sensible guy.
Yeah. So I think change. What should he go to? Just
Jacko enjoys a drink with a lady.
That's good.
Quick email, don't even need to discuss it really. We often get emails from Earl Squirrelson.
Yep.
I think addressing the fact that we're on a random John streak of 0 have changed that to now we got a few emails from John Squirrelsons, which I have appreciated. Which brings us to Random John.
Yes.
If you're new to the podcast or you're new to the boardroom,
Welcome.
Random John is a sport that appeared for the first time on our show, but has now gone worldwide. We've had other entries this week. A couple of girls in Vancouver, Virgin Radio in Vancouver, they're doing
great.
Random John.
Fantastic.
Now worldwide, I think that the number of radio stations doing Random John is it's in the 50s. I think we've got a lot of stations that have joined on. Student
fantastic.
radio,
Yep.
big commercial stations,
Doesn't
some
matter.
non-commercial stations. Doesn't matter who you are. We welcome you to play Random John and join the Random John World Cup.
Where we just put a random number in the phone system, and if John picks up, we're on a John streak of 1.
Now, because we haven't done a podcast since just before Easter, haven't done the Boardroom podcast, had a few emails over that week and going, guys, I hope you're still privately doing a Random John this weekend. You don't want your day off to force us into a position where we lose the World Cup, because at the moment... everyone's tied for
A John streak of 0.
John streak of 0, so it's sort of tied for first worldwide for
Yeah.
the World Cup. Under the rules, whoever's been on the John streak of 0 the longest gets the Golden John, which is the World Cup. That is us. It's so exciting to currently have the World Cup, and not only to have the World Cup, but to hold the record for holding the World Cup the longest. So it's a huge buzz on that, and I can understand people didn't want us to see that sort of end.
It got brought up that Ham, we were a little bit like Spain and FIFA. We're making the rules of the game, and some have accused it favouring us.
Yeah, with Federer umpiring himself.
That's
Actually,
why
someone a bit dodgier than Federer, Philippoussis, umpiring himself against Federer. So there's a lot of questions of how come you guys are winning.
and that's why I'd like to bring up and recognise Alex Ritchie.
Hello, Alex.
Message just simply starts with expression of...
Wait, did you even read your email?
No, I was just sort of commenting on the fact that we had a lot of people
John
worrying.
S. I don't need to write him. And
No, it's just-
sorry, Alex who?
Alex
John
Ritchie-
Squirrelson, we just had a few of them, so
Yeah, that
the
was
board
just
just generally recognises all former Earl Squirrelsons and now John Squirrelsons.
expression of interest,
Yep.
chairman of the International Governing Body of Random John.
Is that you?
The IGBRJ. No, this is someone wanting the role.
Oh, okay.
Goes, regarding your dilemma, as Hamish put it, being Spain and FIFA in the sport of Random John, I propose that a third and impartial party become the arbiter of the sport. I am very aware that this proposal, if adopted, would mark a massive change in your roles as pioneers of the sport. Mm-hmm. But let's face it, guys, what you really want is to hook a John on the line. You don't want to be tangled in red tape.
We don't. We really don't.
Or to have to deal with the increasing groundswell rumours of plagiarism and bias, such as those...
I think they're putting that in there to spook us.
No, that was such as those raised by Mr. Beetleberg. Remember last week?
He was not happy.
He's got evidence. In conclusion, I'd like to express my interest to be the rule keeper of the sport that I'm bloody passionate about.
Oh, good.
With the time you guys are saving, with all the litigating and stressing about the rules,
Yep.
you can focus on honing your skills and making Australia proud.
Yep.
Think about it, guys. That's all I ask.
Okay, yep.
Kind regards, Alex.
Alex, I'm going to say no. But I definitely respect the passion and the enthusiasm that you've shown for that. Although I just have to go off my gut here that I'd feel uncomfortable if we had governing body status taken away from us. And that's really all I can put it down to. I guess I love being at the top. I love holding the World Cup and I love being the governing body. And if people can't accept that about the sport, I sort of think that's one of the traditions of the sport.
And I must say, it's like
I'd love to
being
have
the banker in Monopoly.
It's just sort of a nice feeling. It's just nice to know it's there. And look, Alex, I'd like to invite you as an official advisor.
Yeah.
Certainly, we can have a subcommittee, a Senate subcommittee, that advises us on the ethics of... And if you feel that we've transgressed one of the sport's sort of intrinsic principles, then by all means make your voice heard. And as the governing body, we'll certainly hear that voice. No, we don't want this to turn into a dictatorship.
No, it's not.
Or
Well,
just
it's
like
the
a sort of a
people's games.
very autonomous, very autonomous democracy.
Sorry, Ham, you've got...
Or of just like a democratic one-party system. And
You bring us home, mate. I'm done.
the board recognises Ori Ellen.
Ori Ellen.
How do you spell that?
Good question. No time, Jack.
Okay, sorry. 27 minutes, 45 seconds.
London podcaster, 24. Hey, Hamish, I really love the show. Usually listen to the podcast on the underground, the train. I think not a mole. He's not a mole. I get black market copies of your free podcast when going to work. I've been thinking a lot about Random John. I've mashed up an anthem for the Jonathon.
Great.
Right, this is, I believe, our marathon. Like, if we don't get one eventually down the track,
Which
we'll do a
doesn't...
Jonathon.
It's not a part of the World Cup. It's just more to try and get the utopia of a John.
Yeah. She says, I believe it's a she. Oh, sorry, he says, not sure who the best singer is between you. It's only fair that it's sung as a duet.
I agree.
See if you can pick the song that Ori Allen's he's used here as his basis for the anthem. For John's a Johnny Goodfellow, for John's a Johnny Goodfellow, for John's a Johnny Goodfellow, just a few more Johns to go to bring the trophy home. John needs to pick up his phone to bring the trophy home. Oh, John's a Johnny Goodfellows. He goes, thank you very much. Aye. Done.
That's terrific.
You know what I love about it? I mean, it's he's a London podcaster. It's got a bit of a soccer chant.
Yeah, that'd be nice. I don't think the duet does justice.
It's more of a chant.
I see 20,000 minimum. 20,000 minimum required
So
to do
you'd
that
have to have
justice.
a very long sound off.
Yeah.
Like, number off, everyone, before you're allowed to start.
Yeah, and then
but
everyone-
imagine the excitement in the crowd as it was like 90,998, 90,999. I'm 20,000.
Oh, John's a Johnny Goodfellow.
Although some of the initial crowd, numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4, might have wandered off by the
Yeah.
time you count down, you get to numbering off. To
I'm
the
not sure how
19,000.
necessary the number off was.
Just to make sure you've got 20,000. Because you said 20,000.
What about
minimum.
a guy at a clicker at the front door or something? Just
It just seems more honest if the numbers off. All right, final email. Laura Jeffrey.
Laura Jeffrey. We recognise her. Thank you for wearing a nice power suit from Suzanne.
She's 13 and she's emailed in, and under the details bit again on the form that we're emailing, it says phone number, and she's just written, "I'm sorry, but I've had to sit through a cyber safety lesson." So obviously at school they've said, "Hey guys, don't be giving your number out."
Yeah.
You know, and we back that, Laura.
Well done, Laura.
Well done. We didn't put it there as a trap,
No.
but you've passed. She said, hey, board meetingers.
Yep.
Lovely. Hey, Laura. I typed in John Johnson on Facebook because,
Great.
as
Smart.
we mentioned a few board meetings ago, if we call a number and it's not only is it a John, but it's a John Johnson,
50 points.
it's 50 points. Johnny Johnson, it's 120. It's the purple snitch.
Yeah.
Even better than the golden snitch.
And since then, we've had a lot of John Johnsons coming forward on the email, I've noticed. A lot of Johnny Johnsons and
They're
Johnny
unverified. If they wouldn't have the small kind of blue and white tick alongside them if they're on Twitter, those John Johnsons, because I don't think that they're verified John Johnsons.
She's written in, I typed in John Johnson into Facebook. There are approximately 500 in the world.
Wow.
Now, assuming none of those are Johnny Johnsons, at a bare minimum, she's done the maths here. Well done too, Laura. That means you're looking at bare minimum 25,000 John points. So keep it up. Say hi to Kathleen Jack from me. That obviously assumes that once we get on a John streak, not only do we get on a John streak of 500, but we get on a John Johnson streak of 500. But it's nice to know what your upper threshold is.
Yeah, you're right.
And that's a minimum of 25,000 points. Can you imagine?
Wow.
And
Tough
sitting here at the moment with no John points,
Yeah.
it's quite hard to picture the 25,000 John points.
Can't do it.
It'd blow the sport wide open. If we hit every one of those, can you imagine the look on the XFM Manchester guys' faces when we call them up and we go, hey, listen to this week's podcast,
Yeah.
because we got on a 500 John Johnson streak.
It'd be gamer. It'd kill the sport.
Yeah.
As much as I'd love to do it,
Yeah, it would.
it would kill the sport.
Yeah, you're right. It'd be the 1 second 100 metre sprint,
Yeah. When everyone
which
goes...
I choose not to do because I don't want to see the Olympics flounder.
Well, that's great. Jackson, Jack, is there any points we should be actioning? You were meant to read out times. Hopefully...
Yeah,
I can't remember...
32 minutes. I missed a few.
Well, hopefully she's
That guy
not
should
late.
change his email.
That's right.
Vin Diesel voiceover. I don't really write too much in this.
Oh, that's good. We've picked the right guy for the
Keyboard
job.
shake-up. Hames going to change his password to QWERTY or something.
No.
Have you even listened to... I remember more than this. Why are we doing minutes if this
Peter
is...
Hellier haircut.
No, it's not a list. I didn't ask you to list what the buzzwords...
If you don't know what the minutes are, you can't just go, I picked every 100th
What are minutes for?
word and read... It's
So we
certainly
can go-
not I wrote down every 100th word. And then Noel, call...
I've written Noel called. What did I write? Hat in Carlton for Noel Blake. I didn't write he called.
So
I
it's a
didn't write
little
we
bit
called
better. It's a
him.
little bit descriptive of what actually happened during the meeting. The point of these meetings, Jack, is to dig up and address serious issues
And action
yes,
them.
I'll be the first to admit. Towards the end of the dad call, we were all going, "This is a bit boring. Well, we should wrap this up." But it's still. Then write that down. Write down in the minutes. Noel call. Funny. He already has a hat this week. Boring. End joke about something to do with expensive wines and whiskey.
So
Don't let
I've
Noel.
written funny/boring.
Yes, because that was the journey of that phone call. And then at the end go, don't let Noel do gear on the phone. Call him up,
So there's an
find
action
out
point.
about his hats.
Right.
Action point. In future, cut off Hamish's dad a bit faster.
Pretend we're breaking up or something.
Because he'll...
All right.
He'll
So
hang
for
on.
next week, I'll concentrate on action points.
So we've got kind of one action point for this whole meeting, which is Jack be better.
All right.
All right, Jack, well done.
The board recognises Andy L.
Yeah.
Action. Better minutes. Yeah.
Awesome.
BM. Right, 34 minutes in.
We should put on the podcast, like, all right, this week is roughly 32 minutes long with a 2-minute critical discussion of analysis of our systems at
In
the
the
end.
same show where it was meant to be a Jack appreciation segment.
Yeah, that notion went out the window.
But for people who get to this stage of the podcast, don't need the minutes anyway because they've heard the whole thing. So
True that.
they're not going to worry about this part.
Okay,
Just
thanks.
helps us have a record, Jack.
Meeting adjourned, guys. Meeting adjourned.
All right, thanks, guys.
That was the Hamish and Andy Show podcast, powered by Amy. Lucky you're with Amy.